Good morning. I'd like to call to order the Water and Road Committee meeting. Today is Wednesday, July 8th, 2026, and the time is 9 a.m. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's a lot quieter than it usually be the whole board. Member Manager Johnson, please call the roll. President Doolittle here, Vice President Short.
Here.
And I believe that we open this for public comment, don't we? Yes, you do. So we'll have, yeah. Oh, and then another person, yeah. We have two people coming in, so I guess we'll just check around. Yeah, wait just in 1 minute. Hello.
Hi.
Morning.
David asked me to sit in. Yes, he did.
Oh, no worries, please have a seat.
Okay.
See, Thomas Felton. Thanks. We have two members of our Community Citizens Advisory Council joining us, and anyway. So we're just waiting for them to come in, and then we hear a dog in the background. I know. Yeah, I see we have a guest. I'm not. Maybe that's where that's coming from.
Oh, no, it's somebody.
Oh, there.
Oh.
Hi. So this is public comment period, and we'll now open the public comment this period. This is the opportunity for comments on items not appearing on today's agenda. Please state your name for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Do we have any public comment? Thank you. Public comment is now closed. Our next item on the agenda is the review of the Water and Growth Committee charter, and we're going to be sharing that on the screen. The agenda directs us to use the discovery questions to guide our discussion. And I'd like to take the section by section. And if there are suggested changes, we'll discuss each one before moving on. And I am willing to get the feeling if there have questions from the public. I need to recognize you, and if you have something you'd like to say, we can work with that. Okay. Right there you go. Can you zoom in a little bit? Sure. That's much better. Thank you. So, we started this event, this committee a couple of months ago, and I just want to remind people and viewers for later that this is simply about creating a structured place for board review and discussion of issues already arriving at our doorstep. The question is not whether these topics exist. The question is whether we handle them reactively, one issue at a time, or proactively in an organized way. The committee creates a structured place for information gathering so the full board is not repeatedly revisiting the same questions. Board committees such as this help prepare issues and policy alternatives for board discussion. We don't make any decisions at the committee level. What we do is we make recommendations and then we will take that to the board level. So regarding the charter, we have this edited committee purpose that was submitted when I submitted the creation of the committee on 5/20/26. And so I'll just, you can read that, that's there. But I thought what we could do is, because we haven't really had some time to look at it, and it's an important bit of housekeeping, that Vice President Short and I agree, and also General Manager and staff, on the charter and being clear with it. We have had council look over some of these things. So to make sure that, we're within our standing, we're within our sphere of influence, and we're not trying to manage things that are outside the topics of what the water district manages. So one of the questions that we want to ask, and we want to make sure that if this is in the charter, is who's evaluating the cumulative impacts of development on the district services and infrastructure? Do we agree? Actually, in this growth and development framing, there are 4 questions if you'll scroll down. Vice President Short, I know I haven't had a chance to see this ahead of time, unfortunately, but just looking at those, do we agree? These are some of the things that we've talked about. I talked about when I brought the committee before the board. And these are other things that have come up before for us. And so, then these 4 questions, like, for example, what policies or infrastructure are needed to address high demand development projects?
Mhm.
We know what that refers to. We're concerned that the board's concerned about data centers. And then there are also geothermal energy projects that we've seen a congressman promote. And so we want to make sure that the district has some sort of policy.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about that?
I agree 100%. I think we need a policy on data centers. I see what happened in Coachella just recently. They actually scrapped that project, so they're gonna be looking for somewhere else to put it. And with the way the county has just been rubber stamping projects on our doorstep, I don't trust them. I think it's only a matter of time before something like this pops up. So I think we need to be proactive and have a policy in place for it.
So based upon that, I would say, we're gonna be talking about future agenda items, but, maybe star some things as we're going through so that we can prioritize that one. So anything else in this list? So some of this is going to be, maybe putting some processes in place by the district so that we can look at the entire development pipeline as opposed to the board just getting, oh, here's another project, here's another project. And I got that idea from looking at participating in Mojave Water Agency's board meetings, and they do that. And then they also look at the land use planning for, and obviously that's a much larger airplane than we're flying here, but the same issues apply, that we need to be able to get out ahead of things and anticipate them and think about the impact cumulatively.
Mhm.
And so I think that there are ways that there can be some automation of some reports that the district can do for us in the future that can be brought to this meeting and inform us, and then obviously could be reported out to the board. And that's one thing that I want to say that I believe is really important, is that when we go to the board, that we, that we're coming to them with recommendations and things that we have made some, not decisions on, but we are going to them with we're not reevaluating and reinventing the wheel with the other board. All right, well then I'm going to move on to the next section, which is the bottom part of, yeah, there we go. The policy that we already talked about, growth, this idea of growth related costs are fully identified and borne by the growth rather than existing customers. I know that, and I trust that the district, has identified these costs, but it's not, there's not been really any visibility to it. And so I think that might be something that we could look at here, especially I'm concerned about, any associated costs with, if the septic to sewer project goes through and the support of the district related to that's, borne by that project or borne by growth, and, that it's not being installed, and then, people can understand that 3 years later that cost of that is being applied to those development projects. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think it's also important to say that we're not entirely against development.
We're not.
Even with that, that county decision, the one that gave the money for the sewer project, there are other projects in the community here that I actually completely agree with that we should do. There's one for like a drinking fountain, parking, public bathrooms. I think all those are great. So we're not against these projects. We're against the wrong ones. I think we need to make sure that point is not lost.
I appreciate you bringing that up, because that is true. And I'm definitely not one of those people that picks up the ladder behind me and says nothing else can happen here. Growth is just part of what's going to happen here, and we have to face that, as the water district, recognize that and know that this committee is not here to inhibit growth. It's just a matter of sustainable growth and appropriate growth that impacts the water district. So, and then number 7 is this idea of these proximal relationships between current infrastructure improvements and planned developments. So there is a concern in the community that about the boundaries of the septic to sewer and how that is being informed by, development projects that haven't even come up on the radar for the community. And I don't know that there's anything that the water district can do about that, but, something to think about. And, I know it has been my experience, the district is not making decisions for infrastructure improvements based upon these developments, but I do want to make sure that it's clear here at some point. Okay, so wastewater sewer planning framing. So we have three things there. And the second sewer presentation by special districts, San Bernardino County presented to us, and I believe that was April, it was early April, maybe the first.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the largest attendance of any meeting that the districts had in here, and
Was it more than the rate study?
evidently, I think that it was.
I think it's more.
Really?
So this committee, one of the purposes of it is to give us that, information and a line of sight to what's happening with that project. And I just met with, General Manager Johnson, and she followed up on an email, to special districts asking them for an update that they hadn't replied to before. So she sent them a follow-up email and also has invited them to come participate in our next, meeting.
Just clarify, they did reply.
Oh, okay.
They just said that they told us what the update was, which I shared with the board, which is the RFPs to being developed.
Oh, okay, all right, okay, thank you.
But I haven't heard from them since that.
Okay, so yeah, we'd like to see what that RFP is and anything else, because it has been 4 months. Yeah, so anyway, that's what that is. But again, the concern is how the priorities and the timelines and the potential wastewater or sewer solutions, what information assumptions and risk assessments are being used to establish those. And evidently the county should be looking at this in terms of the impact to the water district and also whether or not the water district itself, which has some powers related to wastewater, could then take on the powers related to sewer. And so we're interested in the priorities and the timelines, and we're interested in whether or not the cumulative impacts and risk of wastewater septic to sewer and all those project activities are being looked at as far as district resources, infrastructure, operations, long-term planning, operational future, and ratepayers. A concern I've had is that if this septic sewer is installed here and it's run by the county of San Bernardino, that there are not going to be any local offices here. And we have a 30% disadvantaged community. And the idea that people are going to be able to understand that the sewer is different from the water district, it's going to take a while. And I'm very much concerned about the load that that's going to put on the water district. That's going to be almost like an unfunded mandate again. We're going to have to provide all this support, and then we're not going to get any, compensation for the extra load that that's going to put on us, and the load that it's going to put on the ratepayers who are going to come in the door and get very frustrated with people at the front desk who can't help them with their sewer bill or their sewer problem. It's not going to be an easy thing. So I think that needs to be called out and fully identified in those future responsibilities. So just looking at this so far, what we've gone through, Director Short, Vice President Short, what, does this all, I want to make sure that it looks like these questions are covered in the original, this edited committee purpose above. So if we can be looking at that at the same time and making sure that that something doesn't seem to be missing. Because the goal is to come out of this with, as much as we can, a buttoned up charter.
Yeah.
So that we can then, show that to the board. And then our next meeting,
Yeah.
we're not doing housekeeping stuff like this.
I've got no issues with it so far.
Okay. So moving on then to interagency coordination and visibility framing. Thank you, Lisa. So scrolling. How can the district obtain sufficient visibility to current and proposed development? ideally, I think how this would function is that we would have a field rep who would actually have some information about projects before they're even land use services gets them. Because obviously there's people know about things. They're talking to people about things, just like they talk to the district about things before things actually happen. And unfortunately, we're not getting that sufficient visibility to look at the cumulative impacts and to understand what's happening. And I understand that there are lots of times where projects are talked about. General Manager Johnson shared that with me, and then nothing necessarily happens with them. I know there's a project like Santorini that's being called something else, but it's on the LUS, the Land Use Services document, its web page about upcoming projects. You know, that was discussed a couple of years ago, and then nothing happened. So it takes a while. But I do think that there is that there might be a information channel.
Oh, no, I agree. 100% agree that I think that's more on the county than us, though. I think we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, and they're not. That's the disconnect. It's nothing. I don't think there's anything that really we can do except keep pushing and just stay on them. But yeah, I agree. We need a rep that is actually going to tell us about this stuff and not let us find out, you know, the day before it happens.
And I don't know if this committee can, do you receive that if this committee can actually ask the rep to come and present to us what's going on?
And there is the problem that we found with the county is that there's so much rotation in those departments. Having consistent person that we talk to is almost impossible.
I'm thinking that it might be the field rep. Perhaps the field rep for Supervisor Rao.
Potentially, but that's more of a political level. If you want to know the nuts and bolts, you really need a staff person that can come in and they're gonna know land use. It's not gonna get to the board level until they've gone through all of their steps in land use.
Because I had understood in the past that when there was a different field rep in Lundquist, that projects were actually announced informally at the municipal advisory council meetings, and so that people kind of got a heads up. Now, again, that's, you know, understanding that those projects may never even come to bear, but before they even hit land use services, so somehow there is a information flow that with all of the development and the impacts that it's going to have to the water district, that it would be great to see if we could get some sort of facsimile of how it used to work here at the committee level.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying for sure. Different representatives have different job descriptions for the field reps and what they're expected to do, I would imagine. So that would be a discussion that we'd have to have probably with you know, our supervisor to see if it's something that they can provide. But again, I think we're getting the best information from a staff person, but that's if their supervisor will let them, you know, come and do this and participate, even if they just came through Zoom.
Right, unfortunately, we're doing this committee in the daytime so that we can get representatives from the county to come here and participate, and it's not an issue with the fact that our board meetings are at night. So I'm hoping we can get more partnership and collaboration with the county as far as information sharing. Okay, so so next, number 2, with all the growth that's going on here and the need for the water district, it would be great if the district was more informed of opportunities for funding. For example, I know that Congressman Ogrenolty's office sends around a request, a form that cities and the county fill out for when they have requests for money. And that form was filled out for the septic to sewer last year. And money was asked for that, and then some money was granted to the county for that. And also not just the septic sewer, but the overall project that Vice President Short was referring to regarding the bathrooms and some street infrastructure improvements. So I'm just saying it would be nice if with this interagency coordination and visibility that we could have a better pipeline for the district to understand where some of those, funding resources come, because this is a very busy district and we're not 100% staffed. And, it's hard to keep up with everything and things change. So it would be nice if there was, I don't know who that would be, but, I just wanted to put that out there. So number 3, a concern I have right here, and there's reasons why this is here, and I'd like to hear what Vice President Short has to say about this, is that now we have another agency potentially going to be doing some land use, and that's Bureau of Land Management. And we have lots of surrounded pockets of, BLM land.
Yeah,
And they are using that in other areas, right, for leasing.
Yep.
For corporations. And I don't think they wouldn't have to go through the county because it's federal.
yeah, I'm not sure.
So I don't know what the mechanism would be for us to find out.
But they're selling that land too.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So where we would find out that information, but to me, I see that as a very big issue that I'm gonna put a star by that as far as.
I mean,
It's a large issue, but it is going to be like chasing our tails. I have a call in BLM right now over our invoices increasing for a right of way. And they refuse to call back. And at a local meeting that I go to, a leadership meeting, they said they're at 30% staffing. And there's nobody there. So getting a hold of them, it's really challenging. So that's gonna be a tough one. That's gonna be worse, I think, in the county.
I don't know what, like, we could do about that as well. Sometimes it's frustrating not having the authority we would like.
The good news is that, most of the BLM land is on our outskirts, it's not within our territory. A few parcels are, but those are not looking, to my knowledge, to be developed
So when you say they're on our outside, yeah, we don't.
outside of our boundaries.
Okay. So, is it anywhere in our charter, the district's charter, that we have to serve the federal government? We have to serve water?
I think we have to serve anybody that wants to participate in our system. So if they own land and they want to bring in the land extension and we have the water to serve, it would be hard pressed to say no if we have the water. Development and the time I've been here has always been that they pay their way, that cost should not be put on the existing ratepayers.
Great, and I know that you're very careful to follow through with that and make sure that's not the case, that it doesn't fall on us. I think this kind of goes back to number 4 in the first segment, or just number 4 altogether, the policy for infrastructure needed to address high demand development budgets, because the fear is that that project could be industrial or a technology project that with our limited water supply, would then be supporting a company that would then be sending the profits outside of the community. So not only would we want to consider whether or not we want to essentially spend our water on that, we would also be spending our water on something that is not cycling back through the community and making this a better place for everybody to live.
I mean, that's gonna be the case with like most chain stores, box stores anyway, so. The more some money spent at those. Things that you
All right, so do you have any more to say about any of those?
No.
All right, so just moving on, so that's pretty much the discovery questions, and then right here are some policy or just some talking points that came out of a conversation that I had with General Manager Johnson a couple of weeks ago when we were preparing for this meeting. And so I think that these are topics that we need to look at and see, if these are covered in the agenda, in the charter, and if they're not, do they fall within it generally, for one, and that we're covered. But then 2, if we want to look at any of these related to future agenda items, which is our next topic. So recognizing that we have some guests in the room from our Citizens Advisory Council, Jeff and Thomas, do you guys have any questions or any comments or anything? Not to put you on the spot, but want to give you an opening?
Not at this time, I just wonder on the BLM thing. Fortunately, we're sort of at a disadvantage because we live in California, but if that's something that our congressmen and which is difficult, but also our senators can have their office interact on that.
That's a good thought.
You know, I don't know where it would go with this particular political setup that we have right now, but at least they could put the federal government on notice that we want better coordination with BLM.
That's a good point. All right, so
Yeah, I agree with that. I think our main focus would be the county and coordinate that, make sure we're top of things with advance notice, even if it's not a viable project or whatever, that, you know, we get notified for everything. And that's coming down before it's surprising. So it's just an ongoing issue. But as long as I've lived here, the county's been horribly, you know, behind or, you know, negligent in notifying our community in terms of what's happening, you know, like San Bernardino, and they're planning for projects here. So I think we need to build that up.
okay, thank you. So I'm gonna just read then this edited committee purpose so that we, so they, if you do it, if anything sounds like we didn't get it covered in what these discovery questions, we can add it. Because then otherwise we'll just say that it's all the way at the top. Otherwise, we'll say that it's right there, that edited committee, right there, yeah. Otherwise, we'll say it's good to go and we'll, you know, give the board to sign off on it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe looking around, like, you know, we're seeing data centers and stuff like that to see what's happening in other communities too, you know, to like setting policies. I think that people were saying about this, and there's like renewable energy siting as well that could impact water use here, either, you know, building the projects and all that. There seems to be a bigger push again for more industrial solar and those types of things, and battery storage and other projects that are coming down. So just looking, even though we don't hear it coming for us, to look around at other communities and see what's impacting them and try to set policies for those in advance, at least to the extent that we can.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to quote something that the Desert Trumpet reported on, that at a recent SBC County Supervisors meeting, District 3 Representative and Board Chair Don Rouse said something that I believe is kind of salient to what you were just saying and to this committee. The 3rd district is the area that we have developable land for energy, and that's just unfortunate because it's not in some of the other districts. In other words, the county's energy development pressure lands here. In our urban water management plan that we did, that was combined with it was a regional urban water management plan that the district worked very hard on recently with the Mojave Water Agency. In that, related to the population, the demographics and stuff, what's happening is that areas like Victorville and those areas are going to have their businesses grow and industry grow with logistics. So they're going to be more involved with logistics. Well, the way we're situated up here with Highway 62 and 247, we're not ideal for any kind of logistics. So energy projects do make sense here. Now, I imagine that there might be some energy projects that make sense here. I think one of the issues that I've seen in the past is that I wouldn't want to supply water to an energy project where all the benefits of that energy project left the community and went somewhere else, and then our utility rates were not impacted. And so here again, we're spending our water on something that is not benefiting the community.
So she's suggesting that these other districts have absolutely no developable land. Out of the 5 districts in the biggest county in the state.
Yeah.
So thinking in countries.
In the country.
Bigger than Rhode Island.
Yeah, I'm not buying that one bit.
Well, it just depends on what kind of energy project you're talking about, because obviously with solar is an energy, yeah, that could be something that could be done in those other communities, and then they wouldn't have to use our water cooling the solar panels to send them energy there.
Mhm.
So, and again, I'm trying very hard to make sure that we keep this in terms of water, and I think that we are doing a good job with that, I hope. All right, so let's just look at this edited committee purpose, just to make sure that what we've discussed goes with, that's covered in this. So the purpose of the Water and Road Standing Committee is to provide a forum for the review, discussion, and development of recommendations regarding potential impacts and changing service demands created by contemplated growth and development on the district's water, wastewater, sewer, and infrastructure resources, operations, and infrastructure. Such review may include not only additional demands on existing infrastructure, but also impacts on existing and future ratepayers in the context of changing environmental, regulatory, and water supply conditions. The committee is intended to support informed board deliberation by improving the district's understanding of potential infrastructure and service demands created by future county development activity and planning efforts. This would include an evaluation of cumulative impacts on water supply, infrastructure, operations, and ratepayers, and a consideration of policies that promote long-term water reliability and operational resiliency in response to future planned growth.
Yeah, Johnson, one word that I think would be helpful to interchange is on the third sentence where it says discussion and development of recommendations. I would consider taking development and changing it to a different word because development is used as the word for development of properties, and I don't want to be confused.
Maybe creation.
Creation or formation, design.
I don't want to add something about receiving input from the community. Especially like the business owners,
Okay,
because a lot of them might live outside of Joshua Tree, and while they're paying into the system, they're not like voting part of the public, but their input should still matter. So I think David Fick brought up that Joshua Tree Business Association, joining that, I think that would be a good opportunity for us.
we have that on an agenda in August.
Okay.
So where would you see that going in here? Because I like the
Sure.
idea of making clear that this is also a place for the community to come in and express
Yeah,
their
their
thoughts and
concerns.
concerns, right? So do you see any space for that, or do you?
I could add another line.
The committee is intended to support and inform board.
Could just add receive input from ratepayers and business owners.
Okay, we could say the committee is intended to receive input from ratepayers and business owners.
Mhm.
Even though they're kind of the same, but it's okay. To call it out is good, and to support informed board deliberation. That makes sense, we just make it part of that sentence.
Sure.
Okay.
You send me a file. Make sure we're on the same page.
Right, so that looks like two changes. The only thing I was wondering about, reading it aloud, which I knew that would help me, so thank you guys for going through that with me, is do we think that we really covered the idea of the operational impact, the costs in here?
I think some of that last sentence.
You think so?
Yeah.
This would include the evaluation of cumulative impacts on water supply, infrastructure, operations, and ratepayers. I think keeping it broad
Okay.
in this context
Yeah.
is better than
All right.
being, unless you're gonna be really confined.
Okay. Fine. So,
So this edited piece is what you would want to go back to the board for,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
just that piece
and
with
we-
those modifications.
right, we can do that in July, right? Before our August meeting for this group.
We could probably get done today.
Okay.
It'd have to be done today.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. So that we can hit the ground running in August. All right, so moving on in our agenda, moving on to item 5, which is future agenda topics. I think, Vice President Short, what do you think we've identified? What's your priority?
I think the priority for the next one should be getting somebody from the county. Like, we need to start leaning on them and getting answers from them as soon as possible.
But that's already in the works. If that's not a go for them, then what's
Okay.
an alternative?
Plan B.
Well,
What was the other one we had started?
Well, data center policy.
Yeah, that's.
Also that's a good one. Yeah. So, and then I
But
have,
I don't know that we want to call it a data center policy.
no,
I think, I was doing a little bit of research on it. I think I want to keep it under high demand water use policy. And that way you are covering multiple
Yeah,
customers.
yeah, that's a good idea. We don't
so,
have any lazy rivers.
okay, so does that, so when we say that we're gonna make that an agenda item, does that mean that I should create something as a potential, because I know you're busy, or you've got this before the next meeting?
I have an idea, but I want to make sure we're on the same page about it. So we'll talk at our next meetup about what I've put together, and then we need to set it obviously through legal to make sure it's within our jurisdiction. And then here, then when it comes back here, you guys can finesse and then from there.
Okay, that sounds like a good plan. I just want to make sure that Vice President Short and I, if we can uncover anything that we, right now, since we're here thinking about it. Is there anything, it doesn't have to be policy stated, but just in plain language, is there anything that you feel like we want to make sure that this policy says?
Oh, if it were up to me, it would be just ban them outright.
Sound space.
Yeah.
So we have to keep in mind, we have all sorts of regulations that we have to comply with. And I think I have the tone of where you want to go, and based on that and what our jurisdiction is, we can put something together. And then when we come back, you'll have the opportunity to put in more input, and then from there, we can send it back to legal and get their final
Yeah.
policy.
Okay.
But we want to make sure, it makes sense with Prop 218, makes sense with, this kind of also touching a little bit on the equity policy that was discussed in the business plan. So kind of, it's two birds with one stone there, because this also provides, that equity piece, I think.
Explain that equity piece.
Well, you're not taking, you're not punishing the small users or the regular users, by having to subsidize these large users.
Thank you for bringing that up, yeah.
Punishing might not be the right word, but I think you understand.
Burdening, or
Okay.
burdening.
Can I ask a question?
Jeff, please.
I don't know enough about our charter. Is it possible to have change the rate policies so that large users or big developments like this are charged more?
So we are going to be entering into a rate study next year, and that would be addressed within the rate study, but it is definitely something that can be talked about at the committee level about concerns about that. So that informs next year's rate study.
Yeah, I thought we couldn't treat ratepayers any differently.
We can't, but it doesn't mean we can't discuss options. There's definitely, we can get creative, but you can't charge one group differently than the other group.
Is that by our charter or is that by
No,
state?
that's why it's 218 and Prop 218. So we can bring in Anne to one of these meetings to talk about Prop 218, and maybe even somebody else, maybe she will recommend Adam Handler, I believe his name is, that's kind of an expert in that area, just to give us more clarity and, what we're legally allowed to do and what's our bounds.
Well, just for comic relief, can we get Adam Sandler instead? That would be the best.
Somebody has to get married.
Yeah, because I'm just wondering if there could be like a general fee or something that's, that's like, they have to pay a country club fee or whatever, that the development pay.
I mean, that would be, I think, ideal world, that would be great, but we have to figure out what our limitations are.
Well, good, thank you for that question. So I think then the other thing, anything else that you think? Okay, so I think another thing as far as future agenda items, and I think this is easy enough, is county representation, county reporting out. So what because we're looking for a clearer channel, more frictionless communication channel with the county and more collaboration. And to me, if we don't have anybody, it seems to me that I do believe that field representative Glenn Harris or whoever would attend in good faith, and I think he would try to be helpful. It's just a matter of maybe he doesn't necessarily know from us clearly what we're wanting, and then I think maybe defining that is worth a shot. And then with the expectation that we're gonna want him to come back and report it out. I think that's, at least that would be defined as opposed to it being more generalized. We'd like to know information. Then we would say, here's what we'd like. Can you help us? And can you come back and talk to us in September?
What, well, let's hold, let me, back up a minute. Glenn here said if we asked him to come, I'm sure he would. What would you want him to prepare for in regards to questions so that he can prepare? Because we don't want him to come here blind and not have the information that we need.
I think you kind of need to know what his job description is, you know, if that's what his job description is to go find information for us, or just as a, like a one-way conduit for him to give, you know, get information from Don Route, or, you know, for us to tell him to, you know, feed to Don Route. So, and if that's even in his range to get this information.
Sure, so that wouldn't necessarily be a committee agenda topic, so that would be a conversation I could have with him, say, well, is it your job to do X? And then if so.
Before you come.
Yeah, but even if you establish that with him, I still think he needs to come to the meeting and answer for us that whether or not we can expect that from him, because I think I'd rather, not that I, you know, I just think it'd be better if we heard it coming from him, so that it's clear that, because I think he's gonna say that he can help. And so I do think that, but understanding what he means by help, what that means for the committee to understand, I think would be good. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can bring him, I'm sure
I
that he'd
think
be
you're
willing. I just would like to give, he's gonna say, what should I prepare for?
Right, and so what I think he could prepare for is what does that look like? Can you do this? So we would like a better heads up on things that are, you know, the scuttlebutt as far as development goes, or some of that, more of a collaborative sharing of information as opposed to waiting for the land use services report. Now, obviously, I understand officially that land use services has a job, and I'm not looking to circumvent that. But I believe that there are things such as the example that septic to sewer that could have been shared much earlier. So that would be an example of something that I would expect a field rep to have in his discourse and conversations with the board, and I was one of them. And I believe I had an indication from a conversation I had with him, that he knew that this was coming. And so does he have the powers to share that? And if so, how can we facilitate that? Is that going to be in the committee? Or just by setting some expectations and understanding, or if he doesn't have the power to do that, we need to know that as well. Because then we're gonna have to figure out another thing. But to me, it'd be a lot clearer if it came through him as opposed to you having to, you know, you going out to all these agencies as opposed to it funneling down.
Sure, I agree. So if I get a hold of him, ask him, what can you help us with? Can you provide us development activity, reporting? What collaboration can we create through him coming here? Maybe he comes quarterly or something like that. And then how can he connect us with land use services or provide us that information?
Or agencies in the county, such as special districts. So it's not just OUS, because OUS has done a better job, at least by providing that webpage. But it's those different groups, and yeah, so you said he could come quarterly, and then there's something you said right before it potentially come quarterly, and before that it was.
Basically the first meeting would be, you know, let's just clearly talk about what it is you can help us with, what you can't. And here's some things, our needs that we're wanting to know more about: future developments, land use services, special districts. Now, I just added that one. And then whatever county collaboration we can have or we can create.
Thank you for reading that again, because I think the thing that's missing that I would like is it's something before it hits land use services. So these big ideas, these big projects, these conceptual things for Joshua Tree that would impact the water district, such as septic to sewer, that was known far sooner, you know, way before it became a press release and it was approved by the Board of Supervisors. And is there an obligation? Do we see that collaboration to share that information would be a benefit? We see it as from the water district, but does the county see that a benefit in it? If not, why not? We think it would be a benefit. We would like to see what we could do to facilitate that channel. And if he can't provide that, then we'll have to go do the octopus thing.
Okay, I'll ask him about that. One's a little bit more nebulous. Because I think a county representative is going to be this is my opinion. So apprehensive to talk about conceptual ideas when there's nothing done yet, because it sometimes will stir up things that maybe are never gonna happen. It's just talk. So I think the collaboration though, and just wanting to know in advance, we need notice. I think we can push that, and I'll bring up the idea.
And I
I think it's gonna be a little bit of a tougher sell.
Okay, I agree with you. I think you're right. And I think the thing that we could also ask for is this idea of needing a cumulative study of the impacts of all of this development related to the water district. So that's something that was right here in the beginning of this, and I also mentioned it when I created the committee. It's right here, number one, who's evaluating the cumulative impacts of development on the district services and infrastructure? And so at 1 and 2 and 3. So I say those three questions would be something that I would like to see if he could.
Which header, I'm sorry.
I was on page 5, since we get there. There's first under growth and development training. If he could assist with those, or if, I recognize that he doesn't tell the county what to do, but he could identify and be helpful in helping facilitate the ask by the district for this.
Okay. I think that's a large amount to give to him at once. So, but I'll do my best to present it in a way that,
But maybe but if he wants to know the questions ahead of time, that would be something we would be asking. So he doesn't necessarily have to provide it to you, before the meeting, if he has some time to prepare. And then another related to that is the list of questions that I submitted to special districts at their request that weren't answered at the meeting. And, I want to recognize that they may not have been in a position to answer all those questions, but I think they're in a position to answer some of those questions now. And what if he's able to facilitate that?
Okay.
So it'd be nice if we could use somebody like that to help us, and it'd be fewer phone calls and you running around doing stuff if we have somebody that actually is, has relationships with these groups and
Sure.
make it happen
Will
for
be
you.
the liaison for us. Okay, so what I have, I think that we should probably, so you've got this down, maybe every end of quarter, we develop the agenda topics for the next quarter. And if they come up organically along the way, that's fine too, we'll keep track of it. But I have, and I don't know if this is the right order, but I think it is the high demand water user policy for the next meeting, or is it the county subject to sewer, it's one or the other? Well, I
That's
think,
what we can get, right? We
Yeah.
can get someone from the county, but that's the priority. If we're not, then we can do
okay,
that.
that's what I need to know, that's the priority.
But I think we can do both of those in one meeting.
Potentially, it depends, I'm gonna try to keep these capped to close to an hour.
I agree.
And if subject to sewer folks are going to be here, we don't want to truncate their time. We definitely want to give them that time. So that helps me. And then Glenn Harris will be our number 3 then. So that gets us up in the next hump for a couple of months. And then as those agenda topics kind of flush out, we'll make sure that we're writing them down and that we're at least every quarter asking for the next quarter so that we can start prepping.
Now, you had mentioned some sort of homework, so I'm just wondering if in that design, if you would be able to, in the special district showed up at the same time that you were prepared to do the data center policy or the high demand water use policy. Could you bring that and then committee members go away and look at that as homework? And so then the next meeting we would be
That could be
far,
something.
far ahead. I'd like to see that then, if those two things end up happening at the same time. Right, so visitors, do you have anything that you add?
I just had a question. So Glenn, how long has he been in that position?
I don't know, a couple of years.
Okay, the reason why I asked is we attempted to do a field meeting with which Bow was supposed to have in Desert Hot Springs, and the rep did not show up. And at that point, they said that whoever the rep was that was supposed to be at that meeting had, I can't remember, maybe gone on pregnancy leave or.
It was probably Dejanay.
Lose something.
She got promoted to a different office.
Okay, so you know more than I do. So, but Glenn is still active.
Glenn's with John Rao, and then there's Rocco, she has her own set of field reps.
Okay,
And there's a new gentleman, he's actually been with her for a long time, and I'm sorry his name's escaping me at the moment, but he's been very responsive.
uh-huh,
So I
Okay.
can definitely connect you to him if
yeah,
you're.
that'd be great. Thank you.
Anything else?
I don't know, like in terms of working a relationship with our field rep and gathering information, I think we could probably do a parallel thing and contact land use services and get, you know, just work that simultaneously instead of waiting for one to, you know, or the other one. Or relying on just one person.
Right, and that
Because,
taking up
you know,
more time to get.
Yeah, because they could say they're surprised or they didn't know about it or whatever. So if we're very reliant on that one person, then, you know, it could still leave gaps for missing information.
I think that's a really good point. I appreciate you pointing that out, because I think that the question regarding this cumulative impacts and that study, that land use services, it also should be involved in that conversation. And I understand they have new personnel that are connecting with the community more than in the past. So it's likely that they could perhaps present in September.
Well, that would probably be the next month after that, right?
Yeah,
Because I have three topics coming out, so.
well, we said quarterly, so I thought we
Land
said
use services.
good point. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, there's this Danny Campos. He's the guy who came, he presented, he's the, I guess, the lead planner for the yacht club, the proposed yacht club here. And then, and he's also been given sort of tasked to be an additional liaison for our community too. So he came to our Joshua Tree Association Business and Culture, you know, or we invited him to come in because he reached out to us. And then I also had an additional conversation with him on the side about establishing better connection with, you know, the pros development, you know, at that meeting where they were doing the sort of the gated, you know, the high-end community with the 3,000-4,000 square foot houses up in, you know, just north of Alta Loma as well. And he said he was very interested in communicating with our community or, you know, establishing contacts or being more of a contact person for us.
Thank you.
Danny Campos.
Do you have his contact information?
Yeah, not on yet.
Okay.
Discarded.
You email it to Lisa.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, perfect, thank you. So I'll put that as number 4 on our list.
All right, well, thank you. Staff has direction on the committee's recommended revisions to the charter and future agenda items. And I believe that there is no further business. This meeting is adjourned at 9:53 a.m. Thank you, everyone.